Hello YouTube. I wanted to tell you a little bit about a Zombie Tools Wakizashi or Zakusashi that I picked up on Craigslist not too long ago, secondhand. Now, keep in mind that my thoughts are based on a secondhand blade. It's the first Zombie Tools product that I've gotten a chance to hold and play with, and so keep that in mind as you hear my thoughts and ramblings. First, I'll talk a little bit about the Kydex case that it comes with. Now, a good hard drop will knock the blade out of the Kydex case, but other than that, it stays in pretty good. There's a little bit of wiggle in the case, so it's not necessarily completely form-fitted, but for how much it costs at, $350-ish, I don't really have any complaints. The blade itself, if you look at the patina or the kind of acid etching that has taken place in the blade, you can see that there's some rusting happening on the blade. Acid often will cause that effect to happen on the blade. I guess supposedly it makes it rust a little quicker. But honestly, I kind of like that it doesn't detract from the overall appearance of the blade now that this one has started to spot a little bit. It's kind of nice that the actual patina or actual rusting on the blade isn't necessarily a big visual detraction. On any note, I am a little concerned that I might be able to brush that patina off, but I don't know that that would necessarily detract from it either. Additionally, this leather grip is held up pretty well over time, and I really have no complaints. Even though it seems relatively simple in construction, it's done pretty well. Before I do any cutting, some folks ask me to move the blades around a little bit and show the center of balance and the center of percussion, or the point of balance and center of percussion. It's about 2 fingers down, about 3 inches away from the guard. Unfortunately, the camera sitting right in front of my cutting test opted not to work, or rather, I didn't turn it on. Either one of those things is, well, mostly I just didn't turn it on. On any note, you can see my backup camera is still working here. I've got about 3 inches for a point of balance. Center of percussion isn't really necessarily noticeable by whacking the blade because it's very rigid, and the blade is very maneuverable in my hand, and that's one thing I'm kind of experiencing right now in the video, is that it moves around really well. In terms of cutting, it cut real well. The blade's pretty sharp, even though this is a second-hand piece and doesn't appear to have been retouched in terms of the edge. I personally thought that the blade was maneuverable. I thought the blade was easy to recover, and I thought point control was pretty easy and manageable. Don't get me wrong, I mean, it's still relatively heavy for its size. I don't want to let my enthusiasm get in the way of the fact that it is a pretty beefy blade, but it's more nimble than it should be, and that was something that I found rather pleasant to work with. Now, I haven't done a lot of cutting with this blade just yet, but I'm looking it over. I whacked the blade into some water bottles, I hit it into the stand, and that's really about the extent of the cutting that I got to do with it. Now, what you can see here is that really the edge shows no damage, and frankly what I'm surprised about is that the patina on the blade, or that acid etching, doesn't show really any signs of scratching or damage or anything that really detracts from the way it looks in general, which I thought was kind of surprising. Not to say that water bottles should really mar the blade, but a lot of times they'll put some scratches in them that throw you off. Other things, I did some cutting with it, and it's been used before. The leather is held up really well. I was initially concerned a little bit just because it seems wrapped over it, and I don't know if they use any kind of glue, resin, epoxy, or what it might be, but it has held up pretty well, and it's been comfortable considering it's a thin leather wrap over a hard metal bar. So again, that's some praise that I think it's warranted. The other thing, and maybe most important thing that I'll say, is that the blade is really more nimble than I'd expect. And I've tested things from Starfire and Badger blades and Angel Sword and Arms and Armor, and you've probably seen some of the other videos and stuff that I've done, and what I expected from this was to hold a crowbar, and it doesn't feel like that at all. It's heavy, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say it's a light, very lively blade. It's still very big and heavy, but considering that, it's actually pretty nimble for its size, and that I thought was very impressive. It doesn't feel unwieldy. It doesn't feel like dead weight. It doesn't feel like a crowbar. It feels very maneuverable and very comfortable for me to hold in my hand. And again, that just caught me off guard, and I think it's probably the most positive feature of this sword. Is just that it kind of looks daunting, cool, and badass, but the fact that it doesn't feel like a crowbar and comes from a company that's got some high praises for making durable products, that's pretty solid and kind of surprising, actually. The finish on it is, well, cool looking, may not be preservable, so I'd note that. I don't know how exactly they etch it in there. From water bottle cutting and things like that, it doesn't appear to have scratched or deformed or, you know, lost any of the patina on the blade. But I would be concerned if I was doing more rigorous cutting with it that it would scratch, and you may not be able to preserve that type of look. Though, honestly, it's very random in its pattern and outline, so I don't know if the scratches would do anything but add character anyway. Anyway, overall, Zombie Tools doesn't really charge an arm and a leg for these products. They seem to be pretty reasonably priced. They're not cheap, but they're pretty reasonably priced. And they have a reputation for doing a lot more than what I did in the video. So hopefully these thoughts helped you. I don't certainly think they're a ripoff. If you like something from the genre and you want something durable to beat stuff up with, I think it's a pretty solid bet. I hope this helped. Thanks for watching.